tourism, e-commerce, the social impacts on 4 different continents. The variety of these experiences gave her unique perspectives, which led her to start her initiative. In April 2020, she founded UXRescue, a UX volunteer community that connects UX practitioners with organizations in need. UXRescue now has over 2,500 volunteers across the world. Without further ado, DaHee, take it away.
All right, thank you, Sava. Like Sava said, well, I will have my introduction a bit as well. Well, I'm running UX Rescue where I met Sava. She was a part of one of our project teams, and she did absolutely amazing job there on her project as well. So thank you for being a part. So here I am today. Thank you for inviting me. I am going to be talking about creating social impact with my biggest weakness. So since it's a relatively smaller group, I'm gonna give you a little task. So keep an eye out. So again, my name is DaHee. I am originally from South Korea, and I moved to the States to cold Minnesota, where I learned about brains because they are so fascinating. And I started my UX career as an intern first, and then it turned into a researcher position at Lifetime, which is a fitness company some of you guys might have heard of. And after my some time in Lifetime, I traveled the world and I moved to Latin America for a few years. And I moved to different parts in Australia, and now I'm back in Korea, where I am running UX Rescue, creating social impact while working as a UX researcher for Coupang, which is an e-commerce company in Korea. So here's a little task for you. Um, I know that you guys have your phone near you, at least your computer. So just put the memo out and write down the biggest weakness of yours that you can think of at the moment. I'm not going to ask you to share it. So absolutely no pressure. You don't have to put it in a beautiful sentence or anything. Just anything that pops up, the first thing in your head, write it down. All right. And I'm going to bring it back to me. And I'm going to talk more about how my journey has led me to where I am. So, when I was studying psychology, I absolutely loved when someone said it's not research, it's actually me search, because you're learning a lot about me, a lot about yourself. And I was learning so much about myself as well while learning psychology. And one of the classes asked me to take this test, which was Big Five. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but Big Five has this 5 big traits, which has openness, consciousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So I was tasked to take this test. And this is how it looks like. So if you have high scores on openness, you're more curious, consciousness, organized, extroversion, energetic, agreeableness, compassionate. But if you score high on neuroticism, you're more sensitive and nervous, which is interesting that neuroticism's high score shows more of a negative side. Anywho, this was my expected result when I was reading the description of it, like the brief description of it. I thought, well, I'm a curious person and I'm a bit easygoing, energetic, compassionate, and I think I'm confident enough. And when I took the test, this is the result that I actually got. So just in case the change wasn't clear, I got the highest score on neuroticism. So as a next step of the task, I was reading more about the traits, like what these scores mean. And the apparently high scores on neuroticism means this: I'm more likely to be anxious, vulnerable, tense, guilt-prone, moody, and also insecure, which is extremely flattering. And while I was reading all this, I was just like, okay, I think this actually explains a lot of things. When people say certain things to me, I really take them to my heart. And when I talk one thing and then I turn around, I kind of like think a lot about like what they would think of me. And yeah, uh, and I would just like, have a lot of thoughts in my head. So I'm just gonna give you a little story of extreme example of this. So this is how I looked in my high school, and this is how I looked junior year of my uni. So I look a bit different, like the skin color, hair color, and you can't see it here, but my body shape has changed as well, like to be a bit bigger. But I love that. Um, but in Korea, whenever I go back home, like for the summer break, Korean culture, since we're very homogeneous people, we have a very unified beauty standard, which is your skin color has to be lighter, and you have to be a certain way, you have to be leaner, and all this. So my family weren't really happy to see how I was changing, and they were saying certain things for the sake of me, they said. And I understood that they were saying things because they want me to fit in safely in the culture, but I really took them personally. And I even did a senior research, my thesis around like how these things, what they are saying, these things in the social culture background are affecting me and my body image and satisfaction. So, and I did a big research, and I was presenting everywhere about like how like social culture factors mean so much to someone, and how you shouldn't be saying all these things to someone, and just to kind of prove that I wasn't the only one who feels this way, and I wasn't the weirdo who feels so sensitive about this. But in the end, you can call me sensitive. I am a sensitive person, and this weakness kind of continued onto my journey at Lifetime as well. So while I was working for Lifetime as a researcher, I did a lot of in-depth interviews, and there people were sharing very personal stories about how their life has changed throughout the fitness journey. And there were times that they were crying and I was crying with them, and there were times that I was sharing their stories at the presentation and I was getting teary. And there was even worse time where um my where I was crying to my manager because my research implications weren't getting implemented because it didn't align with the business priorities. And this is my first job. So I this is my first job, so I had a lot to learn. And one thing that I learned from my manager, which really resonated with me, was that in the end, all this doesn't deserve your tears. And it just made so much sense. And when he said all this, by all this, he means like getting more people to sign up for the gym, getting more people to sign up for the weight loss program. This doesn't deserve your tears. There's so much more going on. There's so much more important stuff out there. And fast forward, I hit the plateau at Lifetime, so I decided to hit the road, and I moved to Latin America. And while I was working and traveling abroad, I really saw that there's too much going on outside of my 9 to 5 job. There was just so much going on. Like there are people suffering from poverty, environmental issues, sexism, racism at a degree that I've never seen in Korea or the States. And while I was going through a self-reflection journey on in South America, I got to watch TED Talk by Brené Brown, and it really introduced this whole perspective change with this quote: "What makes you vulnerable makes you beautiful." And as soon as I heard this, it really turned everything around. The whole time I thought this side of me, this sensitive side of me, where I was crying because my research implications weren't um, exact is getting opted for the next business strategy because I felt so bad for the people who share their story. Those are the traits that made me beautiful. Those are the traits that made me who I am, and that made me a different researcher from others. So I started thinking this way of like, like whenever I feel intensely about others' pain, this is just an empathy that really makes me a better researcher. And I try to work on it. And I decided that, okay, maybe this quality, I can use it to something. And I started thinking maybe being sensitive isn't all that bad. And March 2020 happened, and we all know what happened that time. So pandemic has come, and I like a lot of people have lost their lives, and even more people lost their loved ones, and even more people have lost their jobs. And I was one of them. With extra time in my hands, I spent a lot of time online, and I was reading a lot of stories about how people are suffering so much in different issues, like from losing their loved one, losing their home, losing their job, losing their financial stability. And all these stories are really getting to me. I was having a really emotionally tough time, not because I lost my job, but because hearing all these stories. And it was hurting my mental stability because, my neuroticism score is really high. I am prone to crack under pressure as well. So my heart was aching just too much. I just couldn't go to bed. So what I decided to do, because I just couldn't leave it that way, I decided to I decided that I'm just gonna do it. And of course the next question followed up. What if it doesn't work? Like something that I'm trying to do, what if it doesn't work? And I remember biggest lesson I've gotten from UX, which is every day is prototype. So whatever you're gonna do, it doesn't matter if you fail, because every day is prototype. Like you fail, you try and error, you learn, and you get better next time. So I did what I do best, which is to reach out to people to talk and to do research. So I made this post a year ago. I made this post on my LinkedIn to ask people to look for people who would be interested in this idea of creating a platform to connect volunteers, UX volunteers with organizations. And a lot of people have reached out to me, and they were interested in talking to me. And one thing led to another. I was getting all these ideas of how to execute this idea, how to make this idea into reality, into something tangible. So I started recruiting people. I say, okay, this is just proof of concept. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm just gonna do one project and see how it goes. And so that's how I started UXRescue, where we connect UX volunteers with organizations in need to amplify their impact via design. So after we started, a week later, we had 56 people. A month later, we had 168 volunteers signed up. And now, a year later, we have over 2,800 volunteers signed up. And it was supposed to be a proof of concept, and next thing I see is over 2,000 people signed up, which has been absolutely amazing. It definitely has become something that I've never expected how it grew in such a positive way, and I am so excited to see how it's gonna grow. So we just had our a year anniversary, and we had some celebratory videos from the stakeholders that we worked with that I want to share with you guys.
This is just a video to say thank you to UXRescue for all the incredible work they have done.
Hi, I'm Asia, the founder of Global Peace Train.
Hi, this is Deepak Sapagan from Volunteer for Nepal.
I'm Paloma. I'm the programs manager at C-Smart.
Hi guys, my name is Erica Fiochufo from the African Youth Voices.
Hello everyone, this is Sarah.
We deliver cutting-edge technology, immersive art, and education to help underserved communities.
Our mission is to inspire people to love and protect our oceans.
The African Youth Voices is a podcast that helps young people in Africa to have a voice in a way mainstream media does not.
We are the humanitarian organization which basically focuses in rescue in fire, in flood, in landslide, and in different disasters.
We approached UXRescue with ultimately a challenge. Our parents of children with autism or cognitive challenges, where visual supports are a key component in supporting them, helping them to thrive. And without UXRescue, I think this idea would have stayed just a challenge, just a problem, and that would have been it. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much for your help delivering our message to the world. I can't wait to reveal it.
I'd love to thank the organization for having me for a very wonderful website, which is going to help us to access donors and funds. Thank you so much.
A big thank you to UXRescue for giving us a useful website to connect with the audiences in Africa and around the world. Thank you.
So thank you, UXRescue, for this support, and we really appreciate what you guys are doing for us here in Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, UXRescue. It's been wonderful working with your professional, passionate, engaged team, and we wish you a happy, happy birthday. Thank you.
So that was just that was a little message that we've got from our stakeholders, which made us feel very rewarded. And all this, I couldn't do it without co-parents, and I call them co-parents because they were reaching out to me. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there is huge change in the number. So all this time when it was kind of growing gradually, it was all me, and I was just kind of taking all the responsibilities to myself because I was scared that there is a huge mess in the backstage of UXRescue, and I was afraid to let others see that mess. So they were reaching out to me and they're saying, okay, DaHee, we know it's your precious baby, but maybe just let us help you out. And I was like, it's actually not my precious baby. It's more of a baby who just poos everywhere, who makes messes everywhere. And I was afraid to ask someone to do all these dirty works with me. So we decided that they kept on pushing, they kept on showing me that they are willing to do all these chores with me, change the diapers with me. That's how word co-parents came in. And ever since they came in, like we just started growing so much faster, and we started doing so much more than what I could have done alone. And it's been just iteration after iteration. Like, as I said, every day is a prototype. In the morning of UXRescue today, and then at night at UXRescue today, something is going to change, something is going to be different, because we're iterating every day. And I think that's definitely a way to go, and that's definitely how we are going to continue to do our work especially with the organizations that we are so thankful to work with. So here's some organizations that we've worked with. We worked with organizations that are offering free education for the children who are in marginalized area and who are fighting against the racism by raising awareness and providing educational materials for the BIPOC population. And we are also redesigning a report system for the injured wildlife animal in Australia so that we can actually save their lives when there is a chance. So we now have volunteers over 60 countries, over 23 time zones, which brings a great diversity to our community. And I want to share a little testimonial from Eva, who's our mentor at UXRescue. So Eva said, I joined UXRescue because this initiative is representative of what design culture is about: empathy, support, and having a positive impact. It brings together two aspects that I treasure: social impact and design education. It has been an enriching experience to connect with design practitioners with diverse backgrounds from all over the world and to teach them good practices of the industry in a real life context. So all this is fantastic, and I could not be more grateful for my journey. So what has changed? Why did I struggle so much before this? And I am still struggling. But why was I struggling so much at Lifetime? But why is my weakness coming in as a strength at UXRescue? I was thinking about this at the back of my head, and I didn't really have a clear answer until I saw this.
When I was 12 years old, I fell off my bike and I broke my left arm completely in half.
Oh, sorry, guys.
When I was 12 years old, I fell off my bike and I broke my left arm completely in half. The lower part of my forearm came up at a 90-degree angle to the rest of my forearm. They didn't want to do surgery because I was so young, so they put me in traction at the hospital and they set the bones as best they could, and they put me in a cast up to my shoulder for 3 months. After 3 months, they took the cast off and they told me I'd be fine. And I thought I was fine until 8 years later when I was 20 years old and I was in college and my friend Carl was playing the guitar. I said, Carl, show me how to play the guitar. And he tried and he failed and he thought I was an idiot. And I thought I was an idiot. And then we realized they put me back together wrong at the hospital when I was 12. You should be able to do this. It's called supination. When your palm is flat to the ceiling, pronation when your palm is flat to the floor. To play the guitar, you have to turn your hand inside out, and I can't turn my left hand over. And it was in that moment that I realized why I had struggled at the drive-thru for so many years. I thought all of us were struggling at the drive-thru, but it turns out that it was just me. Because I can give them the money just fine, but I can't get the change. Like, sir, you need to turn your hand over. I'm like, okay. They said, but you have to reach it out. I'm like, I was reaching it out. My sister-in-law had a great idea. She said, I need a basket on a stick and just put it in there if you could just. So it would seem like I have a weakness, I have a problem, I have a disability, I need to fix it. But then something interesting happened. I went to Australia, and in Australia, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, so they drive on the right-hand side of the car. Does anybody know the first place that I drove when I drove in Australia for the first time? I went to the drive-thru. You bet I did, because I wanted to know what it felt like to reach my right arm out the window. Oh, so good. And here's what's important about that story. I'm disabled. I'm damaged. My left arm doesn't work. I function terribly in the American drive-thru, and yet I function perfectly in the Australian drive-thru. Not because I've changed who I am, but because I've changed where I am. I haven't changed the person. I've changed the place. You see, situations are powerful, and situations can either put the spotlight on the best things about us, or they can put the spotlight on the worst things about us. What's interesting is we get to decide what situations we put ourselves in. So what I learned in the Australian drive-thru is that in the right situation, our weaknesses become strengths.
Such a powerful TED Talk, isn't it? And it's absolutely fantastic. If you guys have a chance, you should definitely watch the full talk of David Rundle. So the quote that I want to bring
of 3 things: I couldn't sit still, be quiet, or do what I was told.
I want to bring is, in the right situation, our weaknesses become strength. And I'm going to give you a little example, not a little example, it's actually a big example. We all know who she is. And some of you guys might know that she has Asperger's syndrome, and you'd call that a condition. But she actually said, for the people who are hating on her condition, she said, given the right circumstances, being different is a superpower. Like, when I saw this, I just went amen to her. So going back to the first task that I gave you, what's your biggest weakness? And what's your current situation that makes your weakness a weakness? And because we are designers, how might we place your weakness in an environment to make it your strength? You obviously don't have to answer now, but just a little homework for you to take home. And if you don't see that environment, create it yourself. And if you don't know where to start, on creating that environment where you can make your weakness a strength, we're here for you. At UXRescue, we do a lot of self-initiating project. I'm going to give you a little example. So this is a project that we recently launched, where we are doing a research around COVID distribution situation in LA County. And it was initiated by Lena, who was actually a volunteer who applied to be on one of the projects, and she didn't get in because she didn't pass the interview process. And she got back to me and she said, hey, I heard about this passion project, and I wanted to do something about the COVID vaccine situation. I want to let people know how hard it is for some people to get the vaccine, some people to take the work off, take their kids to the daycare to get the vaccine. It's so hard, and they are not having the visibility that they need. So I want to do something about it. So we decided to put the team together. So they are almost done with their research, and they have come up with 3 different versions of research reports where they're going to share it with the researchers, governments, and lastly with the public to raise the awareness. And we are also going to make it scalable so that we can use their findings in other countries where the vaccine distribution hasn't proceeded as much. So this is just one example. Lena had this passion, and Lena had, when first she applied for a project, she was applying in a project where we didn't need much of go-getters. We needed more of like go-getters, idea bankers. We needed more of like someone who are good at like checking off like items on the list. So in that project, her strength also was a weakness, but she came back with a environment, with a situation where her weakness in that previous project will be her strength. So if you don't know where to start, we can always find an opportunity for you. So I wanted to present it to you guys. But UXRescue is definitely not the only place. So you guys probably have so many other areas that where you see the opportunity to turn your weakness to your strength. So I just wanted to give you guys that light that I saw when I saw that Brené Brown's quote of what makes you vulnerable makes you beautiful. And I wanted you guys to walk away with that as well. So if you're interested in any kind of social impact area, join us to create an impact together. And if you would like to chat, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, or you can follow UXRescue on our social media. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, DaHee, for that presentation. I loved like all the different quotes and all the different videos, and just the arc of the story where, you know, at one point you were like a little upset maybe by like what that score was for your weakness, and then, you know, you were able to transform that with a new situation. And like UXRescue, like you said, I was a part of it for one project, and it's incredible that you were able to do that on your own for like 6 months pretty much, and then, you know, the co-parents came on. It's just, yeah, it's a really awesome story, so I appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm going to open it up for questions. If anybody has questions, please either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and, you know, speak out loud.
Well, I just want to say, DaHee, that was really inspiring. And the word I put down was confidence. So that actually spoke really well to me. As much as I think I'm confident, I know I'm not. I know that is my greatest weakness. So that was really, really interesting. I was wondering also, do you guys ever take in like interns or students that want to help out in projects?
Yeah, so we actually have a mandatory junior position in every project where you don't need any experience, you don't need a portfolio. All you need is passion to learn and passion for the specific topic of that project.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great. Might have someone in mind. And I would love to help if you ever need any also. I think it's
we always need help.
Yeah.
What I have a question too. What are some of the lessons you've had from starting this whole UXRescue? What are the things that you learned that you didn't, you know, expect to learn?
First thing is first thing is anyone is definitely more capable than they probably think of themselves. Especially thanks to all the people out there. Like if I was doing it really alone, like I don't think I could have done it. But just because today is better day than ever to connect with people and work with people remotely, I think this was all possible. So really using the people out there, not using them, but like really connecting with people out there, and you know, like doing the work together. I think that's the game changer, and that's definitely something that I didn't know that I could do before pandemic, especially before pandemic. Yeah.
And what is like your vision for the future of UXRescue?
Yeah, so our mission is to basically inspire and empower all the empower people to use design thinking methodologies to create changes out there. So like by starting more of self-initiating projects, which we call passion projects, by doing more passion projects, like I want to show that, hey, like if you have something that you really care about, go do something because it's totally possible. And we are also in the process of building the processes and kind of like checklist toolkits and stuff so that they can use it when they want to go out there and create some change like using this methodology as well. So that's one pillar, and another one is to open that up for the organizations as well, so that if they are, there's a saying goes like, oh, you don't want to like, what is the exact saying, um don't give them a fish for a
Um,
day, teach them how to fish.
yeah.
So that is our goal for the organizations, to really educate them on design thinking so that when they are doing their things, like they can actually use this and like amplify their impact at their organization.
Mhm. Love that. Do you keep up with organizations, or it's more of like educating, like you said, like teaching them to fish and then letting them go from there?
We it really differs because a lot of times organizations, people who are running the organization are just crazy busy. I have no clue how they are managing their time. Um, so like when I get a chance, I do keep in touch with them, and yeah, I do keep in touch with them to see how they are doing, if they actually like the seed that I planted in their mind, did they actually come to fruition, or are they still waiting for that shoot to come out.
Awesome. Is there any project that you worked on that was maybe not just your favorite, but you just thought was like a really cool story that came about?
Yeah, there was a there was a one project, it's actually still in progress, but when I first got the project inquiry, like a lot of times when I get project inquiry, the founders of organizations, like they are very much of go-getters. When they see something, they like go straight at it and get it. And in design thinking, there's double diamond. You have to step back and you have to study and actually identify the problem first. So there was this one project where we are creating a platform to promote more eco-friendly tourism options over flights. And it was same thing. The stakeholder was very much a go-getter. He really wanted to just get the like product right away. So he came in and he said, "Can you design this for me?" And I said, "Hey, like, do you know who your target market is? Do you know what their pain points, opportunities are?" And we started it from there as a phase one. And I really challenged the team and stakeholder to not jump the gun and really focused on the first diamond in the double diamond system, and they did an absolutely amazing job coming up with the like identified pain points and opportunities and MVP for the second phase. And to see that like with the with someone who was such a go-getter at the beginning, it was such a powerful thing for me. And it showed me a lot of opportunity for UX Rescue to work with more organizations so that we can actually help them to identify the problem first before they come to the solution.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. And another thing, just a little celebratory moment for us, was we are working with an organization who is serving people with autism. And there is a person called Temple Grandin who is basically like the celebrity in ASD area. And while we were brainstorming, we were saying it'd be so great if we can reach out to Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin is like a Brene Brown, super famous. Um, talk to Temple Grandin and pick on her brain. So we just thought we'd give her a shot. We reached out to her, and next thing Temple Grandin said, "Okay, let's chat." And we got on a call with her, and we got to pick on her brain, which was absolutely fantastic for us. And we were just like, wow, what we are doing is really getting like people see value in what these ideas that we are trying to working on and these things that we are designing. So that was a little, like small win moment for us as well.
That's awesome. Wow. That's really cool. Just seeing if anybody else has questions before we jump off.
While we wait for others to ask, Sava, do you want to share any lessons that you've learned while you're working for UX Rescue?
Yeah, kind of to your point that you made, where stakeholders are really eager to just like have the end product. I definitely learned like kind of how to manage that more and to slow them down by like asking questions of, kind of what you were saying of like, do you know this about your demographic and like who you're trying to make this for. That was a lesson I learned, was just like how stakeholders can be that way. I also learned like how remote working across the world is more accessible than I thought previously, because like the whole team was in different countries, like all different time zones. And so, we managed to have, I think it was weekly meetings, I'm pretty sure, not bi-weekly, I think it was weekly meetings. And so for me, it was like 6 or 7 a.m. But you make it work because you want to, do it. But yeah, it was way more manageable than I had thought it would be, having a completely international team. And it was actually really fun to like meet people from all over that were all interested in the same things. So that was another lesson. And I mean, in general too, I just like learned more skills within UX research. So yeah, it was a really great experience for me. And like, yeah, like I was saying earlier, I feel like UX Rescue is such an awesome space because it provides a place for people to practice their skills, but also like do something big and helpful for, someone else. And it impacts a lot of people once you do the project. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you again for presenting and coming out, and thank you everyone that came out to listen. This was another great speaker that we had, and yeah, hope everyone has a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Sava. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.